This lesson focuses on the adverbs of degree a lot, really, very, and to, because very and to are adverbs that students often use incorrectly. Adverbs of degree show how much there is of a verb, adjective, or another adverb. And the adverbs of degree a lot, really, very, and to all show a large amount. Here's an example. He really likes to read a lot, so he is very smart. But if he reads too much, he will damage his eyes. So the adverb really is showing a large amount of the verb like. How much does he like it? He really likes it, a large amount. A lot is also acting as an adverb to intensify the verb like, to show a large amount. Very is showing a large amount of smart, which is an adjective. How smart? Very smart. A large degree of smartness. And to is an adverb intensifying another adverb, much, and both together are showing that he reads a lot, a large amount. So it's modifying the verb there as well. The rules for using a lot, really, and very are a little bit complicated. And sometimes the reason why we use a particular adverb is just because that's the common usage. It's because that's the way everybody does it. And so there's no real rule. It's just the idiomatic use of the word. So I know that's the worst, when there isn't a rule to follow. And it's just because that's the way native speakers speak, but that's often the case with adverbs. However, I am going to show you some general rules to help you. And if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, just try to focus on the rules for very and to, because those are the adverbs that students usually make mistakes with. Okay, so use a lot after verbs, before comparative adjectives and comparative adverbs, and at the end of clauses. So just remember after verbs, as in she laughed a lot during the movie. See how a lot comes after the verb laughed? The movie was a lot funnier than most movies. There it's coming in front of a comparative adjective. Tickets for that movie sold out a lot more quickly than others. There it's coming before a comparative adverb. And she enjoyed the movie a lot. There it's coming at the end of the clause. Use really before verbs, adjectives, or adverbs. As in, she really enjoyed that movie. That movie was really good. It became the most popular movie of the year really quickly. So in the first sentence, it's coming before the verb. In the second sentence, before the adjective. And in the last sentence, before the adverb quickly. So remember, a lot comes after the verb, really comes before the verb. Use very before adjectives and adverbs only. You cannot use very to intensify verbs. So this is really strange, right? Because that's supposed to be the main job of adverbs, is to give information about verbs, but not the adverb very. That one is only for adjectives and adverbs. As in, it was a very funny movie and it sold out very quickly. So funny is an adjective, quickly is an adverb, and very is showing a large amount of each of those. What you cannot say is, she very enjoyed that movie. You cannot use very to intensify verbs. You would have to say instead, she really enjoyed that movie, or she enjoyed that movie a lot. So if you remember one thing from this slide, please remember that you cannot use very with verbs. We use the adverb to show that an adjective or adverb is more than is necessary or wanted. Use to when there is a negative result. So we're saying the large amount is a bad thing, not a good thing. As in, she is too hot to do anything. The negative result of the hot weather is that she doesn't have any energy. She's not saying, oh, I love these high temperatures. She's saying the heat is a bad thing. There's a negative result. Here's another example. She got a speeding ticket because she was driving too quickly. So what's the negative result there? She got a ticket. So whether the adverb to is intensifying an adjective, as in hot, or an adverb, as in quickly, you have to always remember that there's got to be a negative result. It's not a large amount in a good way, it's a large amount in a bad way. So let's practice these adverbs of degree. You're going to fill in the blanks with a lot, really, very, or to. Marta loves her sons blank much. So should we say a lot much, really much, very much, or too much? So a lot would not be a good choice here because it's not coming at the end of the clause. So you could say Marta loves her sons a lot, and that's the end, but we have much here. So a lot's not a good choice. Really much? Well, technically you could use really there because really is supposed to be okay to use in front of other adverbs. But that's one of those cases where there's no rule, but it's just not the right one to use. The correct one to use there is very much. And the reason why we can't use to is because there's no negative result. She would do anything for her sons because she blank loves them. Okay, so we need an adverb that can go in front of a verb. So which adverb is the one that we use to intensify the verb before the verb? We're going to use really, because that's the one that comes before the verb. However, now that her sons have moved out of the house, she feels that her life has no meaning. Maybe she loved her sons too much. Okay, so I'm using too much there because we have a negative result. Her life has no meaning. She's depressed. That's a negative result of the loving of her sons in a large amount. So that's why we're using to. It is good to love one's children, and we're going to use each adverb only once, so we're going to use a lot here at the end of the clause. But it is also really important for every family member to have their own interests and hobbies. Okay, let's try another one. Anna blank stresses every time she has an exam. Okay, so which is the adverb we want to use before verbs? We're going to use really. Anna really stresses every time she has an exam. Exams are so remember we're going to use each adverb only once. So we already used really. So are we going to use a lot big deal, too big deal, Very big deal. The correct answer there is very big deal. She has an exam early tomorrow, but she can't fall asleep. Okay, that sounds like a negative result to me. She is too worried to sleep. However, she studied at the end of the clause. That's a good place to put a lot. She studied a lot, so she will probably do well anyway. Okay, so do not use very in front of verbs. That's why we can't say very stresses. Use too when you have a larger quantity than you want and there's a negative result. Let's continue. When Ahmed moved to Canada, he missed his friend Abdi. So here we are at the end of the clause, so that's a good place for a lot. Luckily, Abdi just learned that he will be soon moving to Canada too. Ahmed, okay, here we have enjoys, that's a verb. So which adverb should we use to intensify the verb enjoy before the verb? Really. Ahmed really enjoys Abdi's company, so he is excited. Here is an adjective. So are we going to say too excited or very excited? If we want to use too excited, we need to see the negative result. So I don't think there's a negative result, not yet anyway. He is very excited about the move. Ahmed and Abdi need to be careful though. Sometimes they have too much fun together and they neglect their studies. So what's the negative result of them having a lot of fun, a large amount of fun? They don't study enough. Okay, so very is intensifying an adjective, not a verb, and too has a negative result. I will need some help, please, because this box is blank heavy for me to lift by myself. Okay, look at that picture. Is there a negative result there of this woman trying to lift the heavy box? Yeah, she can't do it by herself. It's too heavy. I would blank appreciate your help. Appreciate is a verb. Which adverb do we need to use before the verb? Really. I would really appreciate your help. Although the box is blank heavy, okay, so do we want to use a lot heavy or very heavy? We want to use very heavy. It is still within the shipping weight limits. It will cost a lot to ship this box. So a lot is coming right after the verb there. And we've got very intensifying an adjective. And we have too with a negative result. Okay, let's summarize what we've learned here. Adverbs of degree include a lot, really, very, and too. These adverbs of degree show a large amount of a verb, adjective, or adverb. Here's an example. She really wants to get into a very competitive program, so she will have to study a lot because her grades are too low right now to get in. So really comes before the verb wants. Very is intensifying an adjective. A lot is coming after the verb. And too is intensifying an adjective, and it's showing a negative result. She can't get into the program. Use a lot immediately after verbs, before comparative adjectives and adverbs, and at the end of clauses. As in, she talks a lot during class, and she is a lot noisier than the other students, so her teacher gets annoyed with her a lot. Use really in front of either verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. As in, he really likes to eat really healthy food really often. and use very in front of adjectives and adverbs only. You cannot use very to intensify verbs. You can't say she very likes online shopping. You would need to say she really likes online shopping, or she likes online shopping a lot, but do not use very with verbs. Here's an example of how to use very correctly. With that habit, she might become very poor very quickly. So very can only intensify adjectives like poor or adverbs like quickly. Use to in front of adjectives and other adverbs when there is a negative result. As in, he is too fat to fit into his jeans because he ate too much over the holidays. So the negative result of being fat and eating too much is that he can't fit into his clothes. So here's an example of how students often use to incorrectly. They will say something like, he will be too happy when he loses weight. So don't use to show a large amount unless it's bad. So what's bad about being happy, about losing weight? There's nothing negative there. So you would say instead, he will be very happy. He will be really happy, but not too happy. So in summary, watch out for to and very. Do not use very with verbs, and only use to when there is a negative result.